The stream is live.
Right. And looking at all the stuff in the studio, one of these days I'm going to try and do something really professional, and I'm going to come up with an intro video or set up some banners so we can introduce topics or whatever one day. Yeah.
Kid Goblin says R.I.P. William Franz.
Who's William Franz?
I don't know. The name sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't remember. I do not know.
Let me check. Well, it's not a comics guy. So I don't know. Well, tell us.
Starting us off with a name we don't know.
Mm-hmm. That Goblin did post a picture of a Canadian lynx. Said apparently there are some in his area every once in a while.
Ah.
I think the Canadian lynx and the bobcat are really small compared to the Eurasian lynx.
Yeah.
But even so, you don't really want to mess with one.
No.
Stay away from
anything that's a predator. Just stay away from it.
Sure, it's a 30-pound cat, but
Charlton Comics guy. Oh.
William Franz?
We were just talking Charlton Comics.
Are you sure? Is that how it's spelled?
I do not know.
Because the name doesn't show up in the Grin Comics database.
Do 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 do. How did I get Young at Heart going through my head? I don't know. That goblin spelling.
Right. Blame it on the goblin. Don't blame it on the sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on the goblin.
I think I'm a little sleepy.
And it's only 6 o'clock for you.
I tell you. I'm an old man. I'll go look up his deets.
Yeah, you do that. I guess I can find the guy.
I was just watching, I don't know how this popped into my head from Charlton Comics, but who was it? Dope Comics. Bought I think the Hulk is his favorite character. And he's got a 3.0 Hulk number 6. But he then he's like, do other people do this sometimes? He bought this really battered raw Hulk number 6 that had part of the cover chewed off. I think he said he spent a couple $100 on it. And he's like, does anyone else do this? Does anyone else buy really battered comics? And I was like, you know what? I got a lot of really battered comics, especially ones that people have given me for some reason.
Infinity.
People are like, here, I don't want this comic. And it's like, and I have a section over there of comics too wrecked to look through, but I have them in Mylar just so I can look at them. Yeah.
Captain Infinity is here.
Hello. What's there. Up?
Because a friend of mine used to have some pages from Obadiah Old Buck, even before the U.S. version, the Swiss version. And of course, they were kind of ripped because they were from the 1820s.
Right.
That's excusable.
Yeah, something that old you can understand. It makes sense.
But here's the thing. Hulk number 6 costs $50, and you get all the rest of the first 5 issues of Hulk, and all the way around to Tales to Astonish number 90 something for free. That's how I think of Silver Age Marvel.
You just want to read the, which got me on another topic I was thinking of this week. How much comics are worth, and because I just happened to see a video on TikTok of this woman who's, I forget who it was, her brother or somebody passed away. And she's like, he had these comics that he collected. And she was like, I want to know if they're worth anything. What am I supposed to do with them? And there were mostly some solid comics. The ones she was showing off were in pretty good shape, and they were like 1960s Supermans.
Mhm.
And there were some other. There was like some 1960s Star Trek in there, and stuff like that. And that got me thinking. I'm like, if someone hands you a comic collection, or you inherit a comic collection like that, and the comics are worth $10 an issue, because that's kind of what they looked like they were worth to me. I was
Mhm.
like, that's really good. The
Yeah.
odds of the comics being worth $10 an issue is like, whoa, that's a score. Because
Mhm.
and it of course got me thinking about what it takes for a comic to be, because as we know, and probably everybody watching knows, most comics are worthless.
Mhm.
Um, and it of course takes supply and demand for comics to be worth something, which we all understand in the short term, like Dork #1 became worth a bit of money because 10,000 of them were printed, let's say, and then for whatever reason 15,000 people were interested in it. So the price in it, like, we understand that makes perfect sense. Came out last week, only 10,000 of them, more people than that were interested in it.
Mhm.
But it's like, I got 10 comics this week at the comic shop, and the odds of any of those comics ever being worth anything is really, really low.
Mhm.
Absurdly low. Like, but still, people expect comics to be valuable. Even
Any
like
comics.
even people buying comics are like, ooh, it'll be valuable someday. But it's
Mhm.
it's crazy what it takes for a comic book to be valuable. Like, let's just say I got these 10 comics this week. Let's say I paid $4 a comic. If I held on to them for a year and then tried to sell them, I'd probably get $1 a comic for them if I was lucky.
Mhm.
Because everybody who wants everybody who was interested in one of those comics probably has it already. That's how tight interest is. Because if you can only sell 10,000 of your comic, you're only printing 10,000 of your comic.
Mhm.
And then most comics people grow less interested in over time. There's got to be something driving interest, either, a TV show, it's a famous comic book character, or whatever. But almost like 99, it's like another thing I got this week, I'll show them to you later, is I got some random issues of Star Slayer.
Mhm.
Um,
Tit Goblin says
7
that
issues.
William Frantz was the writer on the Lonely War of Captain Willie Schultz.
Oh, okay.
So it was it was a war feature.
It's possible it's only news here.
Yeah. Eric B says he's also just got a bunch of 60s, 70s books, and he's been tempted by Avengers pressed at 20, 30. See, yeah, the guy probably bought them for 5, and he's selling it, wants to sell it to you at 20.
But
And
but
if
but
you probably could have gotten away with giving 10 to the guy that was the original seller if you had known about it.
but it takes decades. And a book like The Avengers, which still has some interest because of movies and
Hmm.
things. Like, how many The Avengers was hardly the best-selling comic in the 60s and 70s. Think about, like, let's just pick one month, 1967, for The Avengers. How many comics came out that month that are worth nothing now? Better selling comics.
Yeah.
No interest in it, but still we expect comics to be valuable.
You know, I don't really. Here's the thing.
But when I say we, I mean the world at large.
Yeah,
Not
sure.
us.
I mean, people who have no idea. It's
Yeah.
one of the reasons people have no idea that comics are not valuable at all. Oh, and Wilson is here. Hello,
Hello
Wilson.
there.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We
Yep.
can.
Okay, I had to restart the computer, and it took a little longer than I expected.
Right now, we're having a discussion about how crazy it is that the general public thinks comics should be valuable.
But yeah,
I saw a video on TikTok of a woman whose brother or something died, and he collected comics and he had a bunch of comics, and she was like, "Are these worth anything?" Da da da. And there were a lot of them were like 1960s Superman and Star Trek. I would say they were worth $10 an issue. And I was like, you know what? That's a good score. If you get a
Right.
bunch of comics that are worth $10 an issue, that's like the top.
Yes.
yeah,
Because
the
most
thing is,
comics you get are worth nothing.
yeah, but most people who are not into comics and they inherit the collection, one thing that they have no idea of is how many comics have been produced since comics have been produced.
But
I mean,
here's what I mean. What else is there that people think might be valuable? There's like nothing kind of like comics that
yeah.
people like. I've one of the TikToks I've stumbled onto is the Millennial Inheritance video company. You know,
I've seen those as well.
yes, this guy who makes videos about the things millennials are inheriting from their boomer parents that are just so worth their collections. And they're like, oh, these collections of, and what it mostly is collectibles. Comic books generally aren't collectibles in terms of the value of a comic book is in the reading. We know that. You know,
Yes.
that's us. We know that even if you're Wilson and haven't read all your comic books you bought recently, still he plans on reading them someday.
Right. That's the
The-
main enjoyment is the
That's
reading,
the
not the
main
buying
enjoyment,
and not the reselling.
right? The main what is the main enjoyment of like a Hummel figurine, a Danbury mint plate, stuff like that, which is sold to you as valuable, sold to people as valuable collectibles. Besides them, you know, wanting to own it, the value is, ooh, this is going to be worth a lot of money someday. And that's what you see in the millennial inheritance groups is that all this stuff that their parents collected that they thought was going to be valuable, but they were collectibles. Comic book isn't a collectible the same way. That's why I said there's nothing like maybe baseball cards.
Hmm.
But even those were made to be collected, weren't they?
Right.
After a while, yeah. Eric
Yeah.
says if you picked up a copy of Sea Devils number 28 for $3, okay shape, and just wanted to read the story. Yeah, it's probably something that maybe if I had the opportunity to, hey, oh, look, there's an old copy of Sea Devils, costs $1. Sure, I might
Right.
try it out. It's $1, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to pay $50 for one, even if it was 9.8, which of course it can't be because it's Sea
Right.
Devils from the 60s.
Yeah.
People do
When I
think they're
talk, sorry, go
their
ahead.
Beatles LP. People think their Beatles LPs are worth. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody bought Beatles LPs. There's like a million of them.
But you'll hardly ever see someone come on with a big. Most people who inherit like a big record collection, they're like, "What am I supposed to do with this?" Nobody
Yeah.
wants this. They don't
Mm.
think it's worth money. Nobody
Right.
comes
Right.
on and says, "Wow, I got all these LP records. What do you people think they're worth?" No one ever says that because they know they're not worth anything. But with
Yeah.
comics, it's always like we have this idea in our head that, and like, just think about what it takes. My example, Wilson, was, you know, I got 10 comics this week, cost me $4 a pop. If I were to hold on to them for a year and try to sell them next year, I'd probably get $1 a pop for them. So they like immediately go down. So for if and every decade I hold on to these comics, they'll probably never increase in value because it's such lightning striking because in order for these comics to have increase in value, more people have to want them now. I mean, want them in 20 years than want them now. And for
Right.
99% of the comics, like if I were to try to sell the comics I got this week next year, there'd be no interest in them because everybody who's interested in that comic already has one. They bought it the year before. And even 10 years from now, everybody who has an interest in that comic has already got one. 20 years from now, everybody who has an interest in that comic has already got one. It would take something driving interest in the comics. Like a good example of that, though, is the Invincible cartoon. Before the Invincible cartoon, Invincible comics were not selling anywhere. They weren't worth much. Once that cartoon came out, all of a sudden, a whole new group of people. It used to be everybody who wanted Invincible #1 had Invincible #1. You know,
Yeah,
everybody who was interested in Invincible #25 had Invincible #25. But with the cartoon, all of a sudden that changed the supply and demand. But that hardly ever happens.
I
But what's the
think
cheapest way to get the first 25 issues? Buy the compendium.
Right. But that's for people who like we know the value is in the reading. So for us, that's what we do. We're not going out and spending $1,000 on the first 25 issues of Invincible. We got no interest in that. We buy the compendium.
At some point, I would say at some point, just about everyone has this shared event of being told that a comic book was worth something and it made it into the news.
Right.
Whether it's the Action Comics that was found in the barn, whether it was the original artwork from Amazing Spider-Man just showed up and got put into the Library of Congress, the selling of all those Image Guys covers by Heritage Auction,
right?
Those made it to the news at some point. And with those things going into the news, I remember the news going and saying things like, comics are worth a lot of money.
Right.
But the caveat is certain comics, certain items were worth a lot of money. I remember working in a comic book shop and hearing stories about someone would come in and it's like, oh, I found this in the trunk of my car. It must have been in there for the last 20 years. How much is it worth? It's like, it's worth nothing. It's been in the trunk of your car without any protection. And it's sitting there being eaten by time.
A trunk key.
And the weather. Trunk key. I like the name of that. And the weather and all that type of stuff where it's like, it's not worthless. It's not even worth the paper is printed on. Because you can't do anything with it. There's always, not always, it hits the news a lot when a comic book is worth something.
Yeah.
And people go nuts about it, but they don't investigate why it was worth something. Or how rare that there's only 5 copies of this book in existence. And again, someone will show up with a reprint of that one book and go, this has to be the 6th copy of the hardest finding book. It's like, it says commemorative copy on the cover there. So there is, in culture, in pop culture especially, something is worth something to somebody. And that a comic book can be worth something. But again, worth is also the problem. What do you define as worth? It's worth it to me to read a reprint copy of Amazing Fantasy 15. That's worth it. If I could read an original copy, that would be fun. But I don't need to.
But I ain't spending 25 grand to do that.
Right. So it's not worth that.
But I think it's strange that only comics occupy that space where normal people who run across a pile of comics expect them to be worth something.
And I have an idea about that, and I'll explain it. But first, let's go through some of the comments.
Okay.
So, Tit Goblin got $90 at 17 cents a book for the comics it's selling. Yeah, you're trying to get rid of a bunch of them at once. Of course, it's going to be a price like that.
Yeah,
17 cents a book isn't a bad price. I've seen people end up paying 10 cents per book getting rid of long boxes.
Yeah, and like you said, he got 90 because he's a good customer.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Fairtuck
That was the good customer price.
had the mindset in his teens and 20s, and now he doesn't because he's smarter now.
Yeah.
And Captain Infinity, he's a reader. He gets comics with stories.
But listen, that's what makes comics different is that their value is actually in the reading.
Mhm.
That's what makes like most collectibles don't have a value outside of the collecting them, or the Hummel figurines value is in looking at the cute little sculpture, I guess.
Mhm.
Right. And those are made to be collected.
Right. Comics
But
aren't made to be
that
collectible.
I would bet, without even knowing to check into it, the Hummel stuff, things that are made to be collected, we probably do not get a print run number.
Oh no.
So how
The-
collectible
the-
can they
they're,
possibly
they're
be?
really marketed to be collectible. In reality,
Right.
they're trying to sell as many pieces as possible.
Mhm.
Exactly. So you have that. You have it's I've watched different collectibles go up in value, down in value, and watched the craze of stuff. I was there when the Beanie Babies began.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and I saw my aunt and my own mother really get into collecting those and buying them, just to be basically, when my aunt passed away, that collection went to my mom. When my mom passed away, that collection disappeared because there's this value, a perceived value, in the tags, in how there is so many hoops to jump just to get someone to even purchase this thing for a buck,
Right.
let alone any real money. And you could see with Beanie Babies, that was made. Was it made to be collectible? Eventually it did. People went crazy. That has speculators, and it went nuts on buying stuff. Yes, a few of the items were cute. They're neat. I kept a handful of them, and then that was it. Came and went.
But
They're still being
like
made.
But
But again,
nobody expects them. Nobody, like in the Millennial Inheritance or whatever, or whoever shows like, I got these Beanie Babies. Should they be worth something? No, nobody thinks that of collectibles, but they think that of comics.
Yeah.
right. And I think maybe
That's
comics
what's so strange.
runs into that. It's not worth anything to the company that published them. They
Mm.
don't care about it. Marvel and DC do not care. Once they're printed and
Yeah,
sold to the
they don't care what the
distributors,
value is.
they don't care about the value. They don't even talk about the value. They won't even value it.
Yeah, they don't get any of that money.
Think again, comics falls into that cultural thing that, well, a ton of them were destroyed for the war. So now there are not many left because of the paper drives. But that was for a time period. Then later, almost everyone has a story of my mom throughout the collection. I was lucky my mom never touched the collection, and other people, you hear that story. It's like, oh, I want it back. So there is that, and someone will tell them, oh, if you still had that, it would be worth tons of money. So people think they missed out on something when they really didn't.
But even think about it in terms of regular books.
Yeah.
The value is because when I was thinking about it, I was like, well, maybe the collectability is driven by the fact that the value's in the reading of it, but the value in a regular book is in the reading of it, but nobody
Right.
cares.
Yeah, no one cares.
Nobody
They
cares
print
about
so
buying
many of them.
Yeah.
a Stephen King paperback first edition or whatever.
Nope.
No one cares.
No.
Mhm.
There's valuable books, but they got to be hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You got to
and
be a
those
rich person to want
and
those.
those hundreds of year old books aren't around.
Yeah,
That's also what makes them, and 100 years ago they weren't printing as many
right.
books for the masses.
So it's weird that people expect comic books to be valuable.
Yeah.
It
Captain
is.
Infinity wants to make your Amazing Fantasy number 15 more valuable.
By burning it.
Yeah. And Eric has a bunch of comics from the 90s. Yeah, Young Justice. Well, are they? They're probably 3 to 6 now, but back then there was a time. There was a time when Young Justice was sought out like 6 months after it started, and people didn't buy it.
Those
then, of
really,
course,
I don't think those really early Strangers in Paradise issues are worth a ton. Like the first issue, of course, is,
Mm,
but
yeah, because
after that, there's not
when
a
you
ton of people interested in those early Strangers in Paradise ones.
and if you pick up new readers who would be interested in Strangers in Paradise, they go straight for whatever most recent
Right.
collected edition there is. They're not
Because I filled
looking for
out
back
the
issues.
Strangers in Paradise stuff I was missing fairly easily, fairly cheaply, I should say.
Goblin says physical art is a bit like it. The majority of people think physical art is valuable if it's in stores, galleries, and local brick and mortar, but most of it gets dumped in charity when the owner dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
But you'll
wild.
never go on TikTok and see someone say, "I inherited these paintings when my brother died. Do you think they're valuable?" Because people just don't have them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things about why are comics valuable, it's our fault.
Yeah.
Because we
Us three?
always
Yes, the three of us.
no, the comic book fans in general have always sought approval from civilians about
Right.
our hobby, and one of the ways that we found to note that comics had any inherent worth was
Was money.
look, look at the first appearance of Superman. Back is now worth $3,000, and somebody in the '60s said that, or the '70s or whatever, and the normies picked it up. Oh, comics can be worth $3,000. Yeah, but like I said earlier, civilians have no idea how many comic books actually exist.
Yeah.
I half agree with you about that hypothesis, but the other half of me says no one was listening to us. It wasn't until it made the news that we mentioned.
I would say it's a
they were listening to the
combination.
news a lot more than you and me, though we were out there trying to justify our collection by saying.
And as soon as you could provide a slip that somebody bought a copy of Action Comics #1 for, at the time, $3,000, then the news would be, people paid $3,000 for a comic book? Wow, let's do a news piece on it.
And that's the thing.
Made
It's
the
like,
news, people listened, but they weren't listening to us.
not only the news pieces, but I would bet, haven't done in a while, I've watched many comic book documentaries. The making of this comic book or the making of this comic book based movie. And every one of them, I would hazard to say that they each will have a section about value.
Yeah.
If you do one on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, whether you watch the documentary about the toys, the movies, the creation of the comics, they'll always point out those first 4 issues and how much they eventually went for, because only I think 5,000 was made of each issue at a certain point. So you have that information, and that information carries on in a documentary about the comic book itself, the movies, the toys. We'll all mention that. Now you have any of the Marvel documentaries about the creation of, well, it always started in comics. And did you know that the first issue of Iron Man sold for XYZ, or the cover sold for XYZ?
If you paid 12 cents for this in 1962, it would be worth it. But
so that's in every.
Weird is nothing else is like that.
No, not at all. Because I think it's because it is a fluke that these things have happened here, and people only listens to old comics worth a lot of money.
Right.
And it's like, oh, and when they see it, they get excited and go, oh, I want to, these have to be worth something, because I read once somewhere. And I've seen many a times working in a comic book shop, someone will come in and go, oh, my dad collected comics. How much are they worth? I have no idea what you have. You want to bring some in? And when you even tell them the work to just list out the books, and then we could tell you, they gloss over and it's like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
that seems like work. I don't want to do that.
But
And
even
it's
things that have gone up in value like lately, like VHS tapes.
Yeah.
No one in a million years would make a video saying, "Oh, I inherited these VHS tapes from my brother. What do you think they'd be worth?" Because people know that they're probably worthless.
right.
There's like 4 VHS tapes that were sold for a lot of money. That's like that's so weirdly unique.
It is. It is. And I'm wondering if that kind of question is put out to the masses, like on a TikTok, because people will answer that
Yeah.
question. Where other people is like, you're not going to do the homework yourself.
Right.
So what makes you think anyone else is going to do the homework
Right.
for you? But the comic book people,
Plenty of comic book experts out
there
there.
are so many experts out there that I don't even answer some questions when it pops up because
Yeah,
it's
I don't
like
bother.
somebody else is going to answer that
Yeah.
question, and I don't need to. Now, if there's a question asked directly towards me, I'll
Right.
give them my opinion and I will tell them. But at the same time, it's like I've had plenty of conversations, even with people who are fans, but won't do the homework of, oh, I've been collecting comic books for the last 25 years. Do you think any of my books are worth anything? It's like, well, where did you buy? All the stuff in the 90s. Not worth a thing. No, no, but they are good books. Yes, the books are good to read. You can't resell them. And then it's like, well, would you sell them for me? It's like, no. I have, you can use eBay. eBay is very easy to use. Once you get to the mindset of they have to do a little bit of work, then it's not worth anything.
No.
Right.
They just want free money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they want to show up to the guy from the auction show on the History Channel. And I have a bunch of comics here. I want $10,000 for them.
But like
Right.
it's amazing. Like just watching the video, I realized how unique that is to comics.
There's another thing, regarding VHS tapes or Beatles records.
Right.
Everybody's heard Beatles music, and
Right.
and many of those bought the records. So it's something that everybody interacted with.
Mm-hmm.
We are so niche that nobody interacts with us, so they
Right.
have no idea what we're about. And the only thing that they've heard about us is that news piece that Action
But-
Comics #1 in the night.
I think
$1,000
what is
of
so
dollars.
amazing though, like because of the news coverage of comics, as niche as we are, I think comics are like less niche than valuable, not record collecting in general, where you buy the latest whatever records, but nobody is spending $25,000 on a record that I know of.
Yeah.
That type of record collecting is even more niche.
And
Yeah,
I
If it
wonder
exists, I don't even know.
Limited edition. It better be in limited edition of a very famous, very relevant artist whose body of work stayed with us for 50 years
Mhm.
and needs to be signed.
Yeah.
It doesn't really exist, but for some reason, like I said, comics are so weird that people are like, hey,
I wonder if it's also the fact that any other media, like you mentioned, the records, the value in a record is the music itself.
right,
You could get any Beatles song that you want at any point in time.
right,
Yeah.
You could find it, you could get it for free. I don't think it's the exact thing with comic books
no,
because I think the masses aren't aware of the reprints, the trade paperbacks, the
right,
way to read the comic. So if you wanted to read
because they're not
Amazing
interested in
Fantasy,
reading the comics.
yeah.
Right.
So that's the thing. I don't think they are aware of how to read the comics. If they want to read the first appearance of Spider-Man, they may think in their head the only way to read it is to buy that first issue, not realizing how many times that's been reprinted. Because the reprints for records are best of if you wanted to buy a physical thing. So I don't think it's the same thing with comics. Or I don't
Like,
think people realize how accessible comic books are.
I think the closest thing is baseball cards. But I don't think there haven't been baseball cards or valuable stories since the 80s.
Mm.
Right,
Like,
because
really,
after
when you
the
think
80s
about it, there haven't
they
been
overprinted everything.
right, everything there was what they now call the junk wax era of the late 80s and 90s. And really, though there are valuable baseball cards. Hey, Sleepy.
Sleepy Reader
Though
Welcome.
here. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. It is Friday. Tit Collins says the real money and fame is in choo-choo train collecting. It's like, but it's like albums. There are some people who like having certain train collections, but the thing about train sets, a lot of people like to personalize their own sets. Build so they're not exactly worth anything unless you have the same set for decades. And then you have to find another train collector who wants to buy your set.
Right.
Yeah.
Captain Infinity says that obsessing about the money has nothing to do with joy of experiencing a fantastic story. Collecting talk equals boring. And yeah, it is. It is. When I tried to listen to videos of guys telling you where to invest in comics, I listened to the guys for 10 minutes and shut up. You're not. I'm not learning anything here.
Sometimes I'll put those down as like background noises. I'm working just to. I just like to hear their point of view. I'm just kind of like that. It's kind of
Yeah.
alien to me. I'm like, oh, all
Yeah,
right.
and then I like that time I listened to that guy Reggie Collects and he says I've been buying comics for 9 months. Fuck you.
Hey, newbies.
Yeah.
It's the way it goes.
Yeah. You got newbies who become experts,
Mhm.
and it's like, are you reading the books or are you just collecting the slabs?
But I'm interested in the perception of new people collecting comics, especially
Yeah.
when, like, we're of the age where we started collecting as kids.
Mhm.
What's it like to start collecting comics at 22?
I have no idea.
I don't
I've
either.
I've I've met occasionally some guys who said they started collecting when they were 16 or 17, and they were buying periodicals. But then again, it wasn't in America, so it
Right.
is a little bit different. But it's hard to get an adult interested in trying out a comic book. If you've never
Mhm.
read a comic book when you were a child, you're not going to start when you're an adult. If
But
it
people
happens, it's
do
extremely rare.
now. At least according to YouTube, people do. That's what I find fascinating. And I think they do come through the movies and such things.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's a few comics that will never be worth anything. So I found William Friends, who died last Sunday at
Okay.
75. Actually, is listed as Will Friends, so that's why it wasn't showing up. And Will Friends wrote several war stories from Charlton, including The Lonely War of Captain Willie Schultz at Fighting Army, Devil's Brigade at War Heroes, and The Iron Corporal at Army War Heroes. So there's a bunch of war anthologies that Charlton had. And these comics will never be worth anything. And if somebody wants, oh, I found these war comics. Are they worth anything? No, they're not. Sorry. Even if they're from the 60s, the people who are interested in Charlton are diminishing.
Yeah.
And even if I could buy these for an opportunity, I'm probably not even try to build a run. It's more like one shows up, costs $1, and I'll try it. Maybe two. If it costs $5, I'm not going to try it. Sorry.
Yeah, there's the
Mhm.
whole perception, as you mentioned before. I had a chance. I was speaking to a Facebook friend that I am connected to because her dad used to own the comic book shop I worked in. So we mentioned before, Gary Guzzo has sold his shop to work at Marvel. So the person that he sold it to, Rick, I ended up working for Rick for a number of years in that comic book shop. And every now and then, Rick's daughter will hit me up on Facebook and say, "Hey, how you doing?" kind of a thing. So it's a person that I speak to like every 5 to 10 years type of a thing. So it's a gap. But one time she asked the question that her and her sister still has a few of the books from his collection, but they went through the books everything they had, they gave away for like Halloween and stuff like that. And then there's a small collection of books. And asking would I be interested in either buying them or at least giving them advice on how to get rid of them because they just have these books sitting there. And what was great is that they actually had a list of the stuff, and they sent me the list, and I went over it, and it's like a few things are worth some stuff, and a few aren't. The books are from that he collected when he was younger, and the thing is that's going back to golden and silver age, but all the key stuff is gone.
Mhm.
That stuff was sold long ago. But what's left over, I was interested only because of the history of them, but they're not
Mhm.
worth anything because a lot of them were westerns and stuff like that that were, as she mentioned, and I agreed with her, is that the clientele for those books are gone.
Yeah.
There's few of them left that may even have the time to buy some and have time to read them. So it's like I was interested, and I told him what I would pay for it, but it's not going to be all that much, mainly because, you know, there would be nothing I can do with them without knowing condition, without knowing
Yeah.
anything like that, and without knowing that market. Because as we came up to the consensus is that I don't think we're going to find many people to buy it. And I told her a little bit about eBay and how to post and stuff like that. And again, once work came into the picture, she was like, "Okay, I guess we'll keep them." But that was it. It's like these might be worth something, and they probably did. But that curve, you don't never know what the point at the top is. This is going to be the most it's going to be worth at this point. Then it starts
Mhm.
going down as the collectors unfortunately die off or leave the market.
Yep. My
So it's
human
yeah,
fly slabbed CGC 2.0. No one's gonna want it.
no, not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
And yeah, sorry.
there's a YouTuber goes by Night Tiger, Mike Smith, and Mike buys a lot of Golden Age comics. How much do you think he pays for them?
$5 a piece,
Five,
$20 a piece.
20, yeah, 20 maximum. And he
Yeah.
gets a lot of stuff from publishers that nobody remembers, like Holyoke, Avon, Street and Smith.
Right.
Yeah, those aren't worth anything.
Yeah.
They're just there. And he enjoys them, and he takes them out of the he takes them out of the bag, and he
Mhm.
reads them. So that's he understands the only inherent value of those comics. But if you want to try a Golden Age book, you're probably not going to get something
But
from Marvel or
still,
DC.
it's in the public consciousness that comic books are worth money, unlike any other thing out. That's why it's so unique that people go on TikTok and say, "I inherited these comics. What are they worth?" No one ever goes on TikTok and say, "I inherited these Copic markers. What are they worth?"
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sleepy Reader
that's
says he's met people who started with Saga pretty
yeah.
often. And probably one thing that they do is that's the only comic that they buy, which it's not necessarily bad because
Invincible's got a lot of people buying those old
sure,
Invincible comics.
yeah, but the people who buy those comics because of the TV show, or because they saw something interesting in there, even though there's no TV show, but maybe it looks different from other comics to them, and they'll try it out. And it's the only comic that they buy. That's not necessarily bad. They don't suffer from FOMO. They don't have the gotta collect them all mentality, because we have the same in Europe. Most people, the only comic that they buy is Asterix once every 3 years. They don't try out if there's a new Blueberry. They don't try it out. They don't go for Marianne Satrapi's books. They don't get the latest Undertaker. Undertaker in Europe is a Western. It's a horror Western. It has nothing to do with the Undertaker from the WWE, of course.
Okay.
But they will buy Asterix because Asterix is a mainstream entertainment. It's like people who don't buy books, but they they started reading the Harry Potter or the Game of Thrones, and they bought them, but they only bought those books. Doesn't mean that they're going to start building up a collection of horror, fantasy, and sci-fi. It's just that, but that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my other subject I wanted to bring up this week is that learning is hard. If you remember, there's another thought that struck me. I was teaching myself bookbinding this week. You remember, I think I showed off the last couple of weeks. I got a couple of books on bookbinding. Of course, I've been watching YouTube videos because I found these TikTok videos on this woman who upscales hardcover books into sketchbooks and things. So this is the first one I did, and this is her method, where it opens up like this, and this is actually the spine, and she puts a little sleeve in there for like where you can keep your pencil.
Oh, okay.
And keep it in there. And I actually put my own covers on it, but she finds interesting books. And then this is all like individual pages you can put in here, and they can fold down pretty flat for drawing. So I put different color pages in. I found out you can even put in like 6x9 manga size pages because this is a 6x9 book. But I did this one her way. I just rebound it today because she only had 3 strings there. I upped it to 5 because mine wasn't working. And then I did this one, which is all bound. This is a sewn binding that's all bound in signatures. So there's glue on it, but also I made signatures of 10 pages each, put a couple of colored pages in there, put my own cover on it. Once again, it's not particular. It's okay. It's done okay. But she also, I want to sell some once I get some interesting ones, and once I get better at it. But this one came out not too bad. They take me way too long at this point. And here's my point about learning. I've always heard, learning is generally hard. But you've always heard, learning is easier when you're young. And I think the only reason it's easier when you're young is when you're old like I am. It's really hard to suck at something. Because by this age I am, I'm expert in quite a few things. I'm good at making drawings. I'm expert at making drawings, paintings, art in general. I've been doing for 30, 40 years. So I know what I'm doing, even though it is not easy. Even though it's hard to make a piece of something, I know how to do it. An expert in comic book production. I can do that. Boom, 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 boom. But when you're learning something new, like book binding, you have to suck at it. And not only when you're older, you're aware you got less time. There's more time behind you than in front of you. So taking the time to learn something new and be terrible at it is not fun. I mean, when you're young, you're terrible at everything. So you're kind of used to it's easier to learn new things, just I think because you're used to, and some people can't even learn new things when they're young because they're not comfortable with being terrible at something. But when you're old and starting something new, you really have to be comfortable with being terrible at it, and that's tough. I'm making these books, and it is tough learning how to do it, just because I'm terrible at it. These are the first 2 I've ever tried, and they came out probably 50% of what I want them to be, and I am not used to that. When I make a painting, it comes out as I want it to be because I've made hundreds of paintings. When I'm making one of my dreams of things covers, I like some better than others, but I've done over 300 of them. So I know how to do them. I know how they're going to come out. Bookbinding, I've just been suffering all week trying to figure out how to bookbind. So, but that's what got in my head. That's why it's so hard to learn something new when you're older. Is you're just not used to sucking at things. What do you do that you do terrible? It's like, you do all the things you're good at.
Sigmar says local newspapers are now $3.50.
Ooh.
That's okay. I'm still not going to pay $5 for an old comic, because that's what Charlton War Heroes is. Ted Calvin says, if you are into natural fungus eyes, the black mold in all those old comics are the only trip that's valuable, man. Well, that's like your opinion, man.
And also figuring out how many pages go in one of these. I can't even do that yet. I had to take some pages out of this one. This one, I thought I had just enough pages, but at the end, I didn't have the binding quite right because it's a different type of binding. And
What kind of paper are you using?
I ordered a whole bunch of different paper.
Oh, okay.
But the main paper in like this one is like a drawing. I ordered like a stack of. It's general sketch paper, sketchbook drawing paper. I got a stack of 500 9x12 sheets that I fold in half and sewed together. I had to buy bookbinding kits and stuff like this. And this paper here, this one is signatures. So it's a 9x12 piece of paper, sewed in half. Folded in half, 5 of them together, sewn along the edge. And then I think there's 8 of them and glued along the edge. This one is individual sheets at 6x9 and then glued along the edge with bookbinding glue. And then this one is like drilled through and so it's sewn in all the pages. But the individual pages, these individual pages aren't, well, there is binding in the middle. You can see the thread. But that's the one that goes through the whole book. There's no signatures in this book. There's all individual pages that are, you can hear the glue crack as I open it a little bit. So I threw in some colored paper every 10 sheets or not. Threw in some notebook lined paper at the end. You can put, there's left in, these are the chapter headings of this book. So I left in the chapter headings of the book. Because that's one of the things that the woman I was learning to how to, it doesn't fold up quite right. You have to shift it over to get it to fold up. But the glue works really well. It stays together along with the binding. So I just have to get better at it if I want to sell these on eBay or something. And then I found out, do you remember 3M paper from Marvel?
Yes.
Which I've been using since our Marvel days. 3M paper is repositionable mounting adhesive. All it is, it's sticky paper. So if you want, instead of using, because most bookbinder stuff I've seen uses glue. It looks like an Elmer's glue, but it's not. It's a bookbinding glue. Pretty flat, but I got some glue on these pages. So you can see spots there. So I like the 3M paper rather than the glue. And what you do is, here's your piece of 3M paper. One side of it is like slick, and the other side of it is like tape. Picture the adhesive on tape without the tape, without the plastic. So you slap a piece of paper on the 3M paper, you burnish it down, you rub it, and then you pull off the backing paper, and all that adhesive sticks to your piece of paper. Then you can go stick it down. We used it at Marvel all the time for doing paste ups and mechanicals. We had to stick a bunch of stuff down. We put it on 3M, and I've used it all these years for photographs. People also use it for mounting photographs. If you want, like, let's say you're having a show of your photographs, you want them in frames, and you want them, in order to frame it, you first mount the photo on like illustration board or foam core or something like that, archival stuff. So you rub this stuff on the back of it. The back of the photograph is now sticky. You put it on the board, you rub the front of it, it's all good. I've been using this stuff since the early 90s Marvel days. They just stopped making it last year.
Oh,
Missing Mars asks if rubber cement would be a better book glue.
no.
Rubber cement is not archival. You cannot
Yeah,
use it as a
it
book glue.
ages and just falls apart.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it browns everything.
Yeah. Once it ages in that brown color, and you can't really get
Right.
that off.
Rubber cement is temporary. The book glue is pretty rubber to begin with, anyway. But it's just it's almost as fast drying as rubber cement, but it's liquid. I find it a little tough to work with compared to 3M paper. So I bought this, and 3M paper isn't cheap either. It's like $50 a roll. Roll lasts you a while. But I just was looking for some, couldn't find it. So I used this other stuff, which is supposedly a direct competitor to 3M, except it's 3M paper is repositionable mounting adhesive, which means it doesn't stick all the way until you rub on it, until you burnish it. Then it sticks down permanently. This stuff is not repositionable. It's just mounting adhesive. So it's like
Right.
you got to get it right in that right place as quickly as possible, and then rub it because it's such a pain. But like I said, it's difficult. It's difficult
What's up,
being
Meyer?
terrible at something you're trying to learn. But I'm trying to figure out how to bind comic books too.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Matter of fact, one of the ones I picked up facsimile of JLA Avengers this week, and I already have a trade paperback of this, but I never liked. I don't like this perfect binding because it doesn't lay open flat. That just annoys me. So since I was learning to bookbind this week, I said to myself, I'm going to pick up these facsimiles and try to bind them into a hardcover that lays open flat, which isn't going to be easy because I'm going to have to cut this glued edge there.
You could also toss it in the microwave to
Yeah?
loosen the glue. That's what we used to do with the Japanese manga books.
I'll have to
When
try
we had-
that.
So in order for us to scan in the Japanese manga books, this is
Mhm.
kind of before the digital age, where they would give us the physical Japanese books and we would have to scan in each individual page. So they said what you do is you put it in the microwave, and what they'll do is they'll loosen up the glue, and then you can remove each of the page and then scan it in that way. And it was better than cutting the pages. And then eventually, about 3 or 4 years later, they eventually was like, oh, here are the discs from Japan, and you
Yeah.
can pull the files off of that way. But that was the way it used to be.
The microwave. I'll have to try that one.
Well, going back to our discussion about expectations of value for old items. So Meyer here, he's an avid collector of toys of any kind, and he has a great variety of a lot of stuff.
Cool.
But the same people don't think of ancient toys as valuable in the same manner. It's not like people are going to go, oh, I found my Barbies from when I or a set of vinyl, the Snoopy and Peanuts. How much are these? They don't think how much are these worth?
I think they do when it comes to Star Wars, because
to an
extent, that's in the culture of these old Star Wars toys could be worth something. I think that's the same thing with Transformers, but I'm only aware of that because of watching and being in that space.
But nobody comes on TikTok and says, I just inherited these Star Wars figures. What are they worth?
Right.
I don't think that happens much.
Or Matchbox cars.
By the way, did I show you guys the Pogo Possum figures that Bunch sent me
You did.
last
You
week?
did.
Okay, I'm just
From
making
last
sure.
week you did, and I looked them up,
Yeah.
and at one time they must have been worth something. They're not worth much today. I believe you do have the whole collection.
Yep.
And looking at them, it's like they're cool. They're vinyl from Japan, but again, that was something that was worth a lot when those guys, those characters, were popular.
Right.
And at one time the culture knew about it, so they were popular. And
Well,
I remember something similar when I was a kid of the Flintstones being like that, and I remember wanting those at the time. And these are in the early 70s that I remember Flintstone toys. But who makes Flintstone toys now? Are the Flintstones even anywhere? They're no longer in syndication. They're no longer on the cereal boxes. I think they were removing them from that fairly soon. So it's like, you don't, again, once that popularity goes, so does the value of these particular things.
Meyer says those Pogo figures were a detergent premium, so you probably had
wow.
you had to cut out some stamps to send in for them.
Okay.
So those are actually these are actually collectible and somewhat rare because they were not available for
mass
purchase
yeah.
for mass
It's
purchase.
just that all the Pogo Possum fans have passed on.
Yeah, they bought all they cut out all the tied stamps. So
Oh, and you know what's a good thing about this method of individual sheets as compared to the signatures? Is you can put other stuff in there. Like I originally had in here before it was too much when I tried to bind it together. When the Captain America omnibus I showed last week, when I bought that, the eBay seller threw in a 6x9 Marvel, something called the X-Men Villains. And it was just, a little 6x9 paperback of a bunch of X-Men stories. One of them being X-Men 150, the Magneto issue. So I actually had that bound in here. I tore it out of the trade paperback. I'll have to try microwaving it next time. And I had it in the back here, just like X-Men 150, because it was the same size as this paper. So that's one of the fun things you can do when you're using the individual sheet method, is you can throw in individual sheets of whatever you want, whatever paper you want, even if it's an X-Men comic.
Wilson or the Flintstones now, they're in our hearts.
Yes. Because I'm still probably protected by all those Flintstone vitamins I took.
Yeah.
Donald Rex, a lot of collectibles become much less valuable after eBay came along.
Yeah.
Right? Because
I
all
think
of us.
eBay showed us how many of these things were made.
Yeah.
I think
And
that's
they
where.
made them easy to get.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes,
it may have been
did.
that if Wilson really wanted a Flintstones toy, he had access to maybe 3 stores that could possibly have that Flintstones toy in at any given time. So, he went into this one store and that Flintstone toy was $30. He was like, oh, that's a little too rich for my blood. And then he didn't see one for another year in the Flintstone toy, and it was $25. And he went, I may as well get it for $25 this time around. But then eBay opened up, and all of a sudden there was 1,000 stores who all had that Flintstone toy.
Right, and then I
The
become very
pricing.
picky. It's like, well,
Yeah.
it's 20, it's $15 here, but
Yeah.
do I want to pay $10 for shipping?
Nah.
Then it becomes like, well, at least I know where it is if I want to get it. So then that is that game where it's like, oh, buying it in the store, instant gratification.
Right.
I get it, I have it, it's in my hands. I could probably get it on eBay for $10, but I'm going to have to wait. Now I'll buy in the store for $15 or whatever the price is.
Right.
You have that type of thing going on as well.
Yeah, at least when YouTube came along, people could make a game out of buying stuff on eBay. I just got this box. Let's open it.
Yeah. Then there's that.
Yeah, there's the unboxings. There's the, I'm going to collect this. I've watched a few of them on YouTube. Again, Star Wars. I'm going to collect all the Star Wars characters I had as a kid, but I want them, and then they all make rules for themselves. The weapons, or they got to be mint in package, and it's like, hey, if you got that money, you go do that. Me, I don't mind having them open. I don't mind having them in parts because I could get the parts and stuff like that. That's why I've been doing my revisit of Toy Biz. The main thing why is because they're pretty cheap. They're pretty easy to get because they made so many of them. Yeah, I remember. See, you could walk into like a regular bodega in New York and find people selling Toy Biz toys for the high price of $15. Or I
Whoa.
could go to KB and get 3 of them for $15. That type of thing. So it's like they made a ton.
Cutting up an old comic shirt as an airbrush rag is its real value.
I don't know, those comic image shirts, some of them are going for like $300.
Yeah, but you don't.
It's like
You can't wear
wild.
them because if you wear your favorite comic book shirt a lot, you have to wash it. And
Yep.
if you what happens if you wash it?
I did that. I had in the 80s. I bought this Grendel sweatshirt. Wasn't really a sweatshirt. It was kind of a little fancy. And it was I think it was the Christine Spar Grendel with the vampire too, but really intricate drawing, beautiful shirt. I didn't wear it for years because I was like, oh man, if I wash that, it's just gonna fade. Finally, like 5 years later, I said, you know what, I'm gonna wear that. And then I had to wash it and it faded like that. First wash, like half the color was gone. I was like, then it hung in my closet for another 5 years before I got rid of it. But
I
at least
would've
when I didn't wear it, I could look at it.
I wish I kept my Marvel staff shirts from the conventions because not many were made. Those are
Right.
all silk screen made, and they did not stand the washes all that much. It's like I should have kept a couple of them and framed them so I could at least look at them because it's like,
What-
oh, it's a nice snapshot of that time period. I even found a recent Polaroid of a Marvel event where I'm with Wolverine and
Oh yeah, I think you posted
Magneto.
that one.
Yeah, I posted it of Wolverine and Magneto, and then I realized I didn't realize I had a staff shirt that had the Hulk on it. I always thought we only did the Thing, and it's like,
Ah.
no, we did like 3 or 4 types of shirts.
These days, for like, I don't have many T-shirts anymore, but for a period, I was getting some of those, shirt a day sites, T-shirts with mashups of pop culture characters or something. When they wore out, I finally was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to take a picture of them and then get rid of them because
Right.
you know how you go attached to a shirt, but it's like, you know what? This one's not worth wearing, but I don't want to get rid of it because it's cool. I'm like, I'm just going to take a picture and get rid of it.
Yeah,
So that's what I
That's a great
started
idea.
doing.
As BPT said, his mother used
Right.
his younger brother's old comic book shirt as dust rags.
Uh-huh.
Means nothing to your mother. She
Yep.
has no emotional attachment to that shirt
No,
whatsoever.
and she was the one that had to wash them.
Yep.
Nostalgic regrets about 50% of my conversations. Yeah, yeah.
Nostalgia, it's a hell of a drug.
Oh yeah, completely. Speaking of nostalgia, did you read that Boom Studios has grabbed a couple of the Go Key books?
No,
They have Turok, Solar
Ah.
Man of the Atom, and Robot Fighter.
Magnus.
Magnus Robot Fighter. So Robert Kurtman is bringing Go Key books to Image.
As a kid, Magnus Robot Fighter just used to make me shake my head. Like, because he He was the only one who could defeat the robots because he knew robot kung fu. That made no sense, especially when every other kung fu story was about teaching kung fu. And I'm like, why doesn't he teach the other people robot kung fu if it's so valuable? Made no sense to me.
I didn't read them until they got over to Valiant,
Huh.
and it was like, and I did see some of the old key books, and what I liked about them was their covers were painted, and they looked
Yeah.
beautiful, and the artwork wasn't bad. I think Russ Manning might have been doing those books. So the few Gold Key books I got to read because of because they went to Valiant, I looked into them and I was like, oh, these are pretty neat. But again, it was like, as you mentioned, they weren't great stories. They were interesting, but I did enjoy the Valiant era.
Yeah.
And she paid for them. She really hates comics.
She was happy to make him dust rags.
Yeah, Myers says he was beating robots with a karate chop.
That's because he knew robot kung fu.
Mm-hmm. We're at the vulnerable point in the robot's head. Makes you wonder why the robots build themselves with heads. Why would if the robots are in charge, why do when they build more of themselves, why do they make themselves look like humanoids? Sounds counterproductive, isn't it?
So many questions.
Yeah.
Yep. They should have been made out of something that
this week, Wilson.
Yes, I did.
All right.
I made it there today and heard a little bit of drama, only in the sense of I know or I speak to at least 5 people in the shop on a regular basis.
Yep.
The crew that's there on Wednesday, they might be one person different than the crew that's there on Fridays. But the main people that I enjoy talking with are no longer there. About 3 of them upped and quit last week.
Ah.
I don't know why. It was just that I overheard some employees talking to like another regular customer. And it's like, oh no, those guys are no longer here, and they're just gone. And part of me kind of felt, ooh, I don't know if I'm going to like coming here anymore.
A little sad. You got to make new friends.
Definitely a lot sad. And, I mean, I wish them well wherever they're going to go to. But part of me is like, oh, I'm going to miss seeing the same people that I see that I like. One of the reasons why I like going to that particular store was because of these particular people.
Right.
So I went in, got my books, and kind of left. So no conversation. They were the people that were there were pleasant enough.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you get used to your people kind of a way. So these are the books that I picked up. No particular order because I just tossed them in the bag. And we'll do what I picked off the shelf first. And I think these books you might have seen already because I believe you already picked them up. So we have Zorro #1.
There we go.
Because I definitely, loved the ones that you had and you were looking through. I haven't read any of these. I had gotten home just before we got
I
on
put
the
2 and
show.
3 in my pull list, I think, of Zorro.
You did? Okay. Megalith, the Olympic Saga #1.
A Bad Idea comic, right?
Bad Idea comic, yes. So that looked
That got some
attractive
nice
on the
artwork
shelf.
in it.
So I picked that up off the shelf just because of the cover. And I did flip through it, and it's like the artwork looks pretty good.
What's the guy's name? Tomas. I can't remember his last name.
I see no credits page.
They might be at the end.
Okay.
Doesn't say
Louis LaRosa artwork.
Oh, that's Louis LaRosa, that one.
Yes.
Okay. I'm thinking of another guy then.
Yeah, I don't see a Tomas in here at all.
Yeah, I'm thinking of someone on a different book then. Yeah, but that one's got some nice artwork.
Yes.
Megalith.
So those are the two I believe I picked up off the wall, and then the rest here are the books that um that were waiting for me. So these are on the bags. Let me just pull them out so this way here they're not over shiny. Ah, book doesn't want to come out.
Is it an extra thick book?
No, it's just tight in the bag. Maybe it's the wrong side of the bag. I don't think the book is any thicker than usual. Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 29 by Joe Kelly and Peter Woods. But it's issue 29, so it's not any bigger than usual.
No,
It's a
shouldn't be.
$4.99 book. So it just didn't want to come out of the plastic sleeve. I like that cover. It gives me a feeling of Charles Vest's graphic novels when he did Spider-Man stuff, and with the weirdness in the background.
Nice creepy feeling to a Spider-Man cover.
Yep. Combination of Charles Vest and Bernie Wrightson is what I say this particular cover. That's the feeling I get from it.
Yep.
Let's see, what else do we have? Kato 84, issue number 3.
That's a 5-issue series?
I believe, yeah, 3 of 5.
Okay.
When all 5 of them are together, it's probably when I'll read it. And Mumra, the Ever Living, issue number 2. That's from
Mumra.
Dynamite. And I have some more, but we'll come back to those.
Okay.
I wanna take them out of the bags first. This way here, when I show them.
I'll show you a couple things. I'll show you a couple last issues. The last issue of Exquisite Corpse is out, issue number 13. This is the one that's sort of the battle royal between all the assassins to see which family gets to rule the United States behind the scenes. And I think they pulled it off. They stuck the landing. And I guess it's so popular that they're going to give us a season 2. And to give you a little spoiler here, this has nothing to do with how the story ends, because we thought this character already died. But on the last page, as an epilogue, they showed us this. That one of the assassins wore a bunny rabbit costume, and we get to see him walking away, and he says, he'll be back in season 2 or something like that. Rascal Randy will return in Exquisite Corpses season 2. So I guess we're going to get more Exquisite Corpses. But like I said, that's just an epilogue that has nothing to do with how the book ended. So it's not a real spoiler. We thought he died like issues ago.
He got better.
The other last issue we got here is Spirit of the Shadows, issue number 5. And Ziegler, Nick Kane. And I got to say that they stuck the landing on this one, too. I enjoyed it a lot. This is the one where the art looks a bit like Steve Ditko, a bit of Jack Kirby in it. And in the end, I would have to say, I think I'd categorize this as a romance comic. It's got a lot of magical stuff in it, but in the end, I think it was the romance that was central to the story. And the romance is a little too complicated to go through all of it plot wise. But it was about a guy who died, and after the afterlife he went to, the woman who pulled him back out of that afterlife to get revenge on him. But it was both of those good last issues.
SBPT liked seeing Pete Woods art again.
Okay.
And it got like the color on.
Yeah, it's had some great color on Spirit of the Shadows. Some nice color, some nice art, and a good story. I got to say, I look forward to rereading that one. Don't know when I'll get to, but it's a good comic when I look at it and go, I want to reread that one.
when you look through all of the series that you have completed, you should find out which ones you want to keep, and then bind them.
I got to learn how to bind first. I'm practicing on the
Alan Davis. I don't see
Alan Davis.
Okay,
Maybe his clandestine books.
yeah. Well, some of the because Davis was very good at monster and alien designs.
And maybe some of the line work has a Mark
Coloring
Farmer
from back
look to it.
then.
The inking has that sort of precise Alan Davis, Mark Farmer look to it, I think, is what he's responding to also.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a lot of Kirby and Ditko in the art.
Yeah, sure. To me, it looks more like the guy who was who showed up every once in a while with that Piscor and the one who did Godland.
Oh, okay. Scioli.
Yeah, Scale. Yeah, Tom Scale. Yeah.
And Carl Bowlers was the editor on this.
Neat.
Still around.
I'll just send him a message, tell him I like it.
The initial works in Miracle Man. Well, more like the initial works. Sure. I mean, we got where do I have the Yarn Quench? I have it over there.
Oh.
Sure, because the character designs that he did in Captain Britain, the special executive, and then in TechNet, they kind of look like those aliens over there.
I think one of my problems with the book binding too was the woman I was learning from, who I bought her book, was finding interesting old books to upscale. So she was just using the covers that were already there. I was, gluing down my own covers. So without that step, it'd be a lot easier to do. So I got to find some interesting old books. I do have a set of old encyclopedias back over there. I might turn all those into sketchbooks someday. Like, with this one too, I put my own cover on it. In order to put my own cover on it, I used my own artwork. This is one of my photographs. I had to print it out, which is easy enough. But then I had to put like a book cover sticky plastic over it to protect it. And then I had to put the 3M paper on the back. And that took a lot of time and effort to do. We'll do things like, I don't know if you can see that little white mark there?
Yes.
That's a little piece of paper that got underneath the plastic that I didn't notice. Just a little piece of paper from cutting the edge of the pages, and your little piece comes off, and just since I'm not working in a clean room, it got under there, and I'm just like, oh well, nothing I can do about it. And like nobody's gonna notice it but me, but still I notice it.
Yeah, if you don't stare at it, it kind of looks like it's part of the art.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, but my eye immediately goes there because I'm the one who knows it's not supposed, and nobody else is going to notice it unless I point it out to them. But me, I'm like, you know how that is.
Always, this BPT always loved those characters from David's. Made Excalibur his favorite X book. What made Excalibur stand out from the other X books was also that Davis drew everyone smiling a lot of time. So it looked like the happiest X book. Everybody else was just scowling. We are mutants.
I always
Hated
said
and persecuted.
in the 90s, there were 3 facial expressions in comics. There was, pardon me, there was 4. There was the open mouth scream. There was the gritted teeth.
Mhm.
There was the no expression. And there was the Simonson pout. Those were the 4 expressions in all of superhero comics. I don't know if Simonson was the first to do that pout, but he perfected it. And I think everybody was copying him.
Yeah, Liefeld did.
Yeah. That pout was one of the standard expressions.
Yeah. Didn't Chicken do it as well?
And I'm sure plenty of people had, but Simonson's Thor really popularized it, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember, especially in close-ups.
Yeah.
Well, you always saw Thor when Thor was
Had that-
thinking.
Had that lower lip up.
Yeah. Or when Walter drew something like things like trolls. All the trolls had the elongated jaw, so that it looked natural that the pout was covered the mouth. The publisher, why do you keep ignoring Excalibur? Because at the time that they started, Excalibur was already past issue number 100, and you did not want to read Ben Robb Excalibur.
Here's a comic that's going in my bought just for the cover section.
Mm-hmm.
This is Club Nephilim. Devil's Due. I bought this because it's Devil's Due 25 years. So I was like, you know what? I'll buy it. I haven't bought a Devil's Due in forever. And I liked the cover. But the story, who's doing it here? Created by Josh Blaylock. I think he's the publisher too. Writer Pat Shand. Artist Jordi Perez and Eliza Feliz. Colors by Carlos D. Moreno. Letters by Sean Dispasquale. And you know what's weird? They have the events of Club Nephilim take place after the events of Mercy Sparks number 5 from the ongoing series. And then they have a little, I think this was supposed to be a recap right there, but that pretty much was everything that happened in this comic. I'm like, that's not a recap. That's like a preview. Something about a club on the not in heaven and hell, but some and an angel eventually takes it over, and there's a lot of talking. And not a whole lot being said. And being that they recapped the whole comic in this text piece, not to my liking. I'll keep it just for the cover of the tattooed half-naked angel, but other than that,
So no more Club Nephilim.
No more Club Nephilim for me. Like I said, I like the cover.
Apart from that, there wasn't really that much this week, right? Because it's the 5th week.
I don't know. There was so much. I cannot. Just last week, what did I have to leave behind? Let me check my last week. There was like 1, 2. This is when I pre-order something. So last week I got my email from my comic shop of final order cutoff. So I was looking to see what I wanted to pre-order, and already on my pull list was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there was already 7 things on my pull list. And then the new Shaolin Cowboys coming out. There was 8 I had to put on. Zorro number 2. There was 9 I had to put on. There was Everyone Loves a Jewel Thief number 3, which I liked the first 2 issues. So there's 10 I had to put on. Of This Earth, which I liked the first issue of. So that's 11 I had to put on. Dog Tag, which I liked number 2, so that's 12. Then there's Terminal, which is the new Robert Kirkman #1 superhero X-Men story. I was like, I want to try that one out too. That's like, what am I up to, 12 or 13? So I had to leave behind. I didn't pre-order If Destruction Be Our Lot #2, which I kind of liked the first issue of, but I just got no more room on my pull list. And Amazing Spider-Man facsimile edition #14. I would have got that if I didn't already have 13 comics on my pull. So I had to like leave 2 off my pull list just because I was like, I've got like, $45 or $50 worth of comics that week already. It's crazy how much good stuff is out there. But 2 things off my pull list this week because last issue of 2 things. Up, he's defending Ben Robb's scripts.
The scripts had great dilemmas. Yeah, when he came back, the art that he did on Excalibur was not the same that he did for Claremont. Ben Robb's scripts were not that bad, and we had Warren Ellis and Carlos Pacheco. Yeah, well, Ben Robb was no Fabian Nicieza. Ben Robb also wrote one of the 2099 titles, and was not particularly impressed. But I think I have a Ben Robb, one of those Elseworlds around here, and I kind of liked it. So okay, yeah, let's be fair. I'll have to check out which one it is. I think it's it's a JLA one. Though back when DC did a Prestige format Elseworld miniseries, which were good reads. A lot of them were.
And 2 horror books this week. We got Corpse Night #2, which had much more of a horror vibe than the first issue. There's the little girl. Takes place in the time of Joan of Arc. Her father died, was cut down by the dirty English, and then rose from the grave to protect her. And now they're looking for Joan of Arc. So she thinks Joan of Arc can save her father. So they're mostly going around France, but her father's despite the fact that he protects her, he's a monster. They end up going on this shortcut through the woods where there's wolf monsters and things. She got separated from her father. Where is he? He can't even talk. There's his face after a sword was just run through it again. I think he kills these local French villagers. We're not even sure. There's a nice page of her finding the scary castle in the haunted place she's not supposed to go. So good stuff. The first issue had me wanting to try out the second. The second has me wanting to put it on my pull list. So good second issue, really good horror vibe. And the other horror book is Nectar, which once again is a period piece. I think it takes place on an island off the coast of New England or something. I think at the time of like the Salem witch trials time. There's not a year. But here's what happens if this butterfly bites you. You start to get the dancing sickness, and then your body just collapses. And the butterflies come and drink your blood.
Like they're known to do.
Like they're known to do. And of course, there's a priest. There's a scientist and a priest. And the priest wants to kill everybody because the devil is taking him over, and the scientist wants to figure things out. That's a bit of a cliche. But it's been a fun horror book. Gotta say, I've been enjoying this one. I think issue 4 comes out next week. I think this one, this was on my pull list, but it must have come in damaged or never came, because I looked up on the wall this week and I saw it. I've been wondering where it is, and Roy wasn't in this week to ask. But it must have come in damaged, but too damaged to even put out on the shelf. Sometimes when something comes in damaged, he puts it on the shelf in case somebody wants it, and then you can swap it when a new one comes in. But that one must have been too damaged to even put on the shelf because I never saw it. And then what happens is in Roy's system, it's a pull list. The book comes in, he pulls it for you, puts it in your bag. It's all computerized. He says, "Oh, look at these are the 9 books Jared's getting this week. Let's put it in Jared's bag." But I don't think the damaged ones come in with attached to your number. So sometimes I think that, or sometimes he forgets that they're even like that because they come in 2-3 weeks later. So he's like, "Oh crap, who ordered this?" So he usually puts them up on the shelf, and no one's pulling Nectar number 3 off the shelf besides those of us who pre-ordered it. So it's okay, but they're not quite in the system like they should be. He forgets.
Which 2099? Probably the last. No. I think it was X Nation. I think Ben Robb wrote X Nation.
That sounds
also
correct.
Yeah. Dancing Sickness, enjoyable way to kick the bucket.
You wouldn't like the bleeding part though. They start bleeding and everything collapses. Because usually the dancing sickness took a while to kill you. Here it's taking a few hours because you start bleeding out, so the butterflies can drink your blood. You know how that goes.
Mm-hmm. Worse than the dancing sickness were those dance contests in the 50s that lasted for 48 hours.
The dance marathons?
Yeah. Those people are crazy.
Last couple on the dance floor wins.
Wins what?
I don't know, whatever the prize was.
Whatever the prize was. Bragging rights. A boat.
A boat? Well, for a boat.
They did that in a Godzilla movie.
Because if it's dinner for 2 in Mom and Pop's diner, no.
And if it's a really good diner. I've only ever seen those dance contests on television, so I don't know how true they are.
Right.
Now that I'm thinking about them, they must be pretty smelly.
I would guess so.
If you're in some random club, or they usually happen like a school gym in the movies. Yeah. That's got to be pretty smelly with all those couples out on the dance floor for such a long time. And school gyms aren't known for their bouquet to begin with.
X Nation, of course, I had them last year for $1 each. Spend a buck on issues of X Nation.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. So, did you see that Dark Horse employees are trying to unionize?
Yeah, I saw that. Good for them.
Yep. I wonder if they'll be able to do it.
Yeah. Good for them. It's nice to have a union behind me. I belong to part of a teachers union. I don't even remember which one. But it's a complicated story. But I was applying for some sort of promotion this year. And my union rep called me up and said, "Something funny's going on with that. Want me to look into it?" I'm like, "Sure." And he looked into it and said, "Oh, want me to take this up with the provost?" I'm like, "Sure." I'm like, I'm not used to having an option.
Right.
I'm used to being a freelancer where your only option is to quit. No one's looking out for you. That was fun. I'm like, okay, sure. And he's keeping me updated. I'm giving him information. Oh, that's nice to know.
Yeah.
The Goblin recommends probably one of the best art documentaries, Mark Kessler's Secret City on Tubi.
Ah.
Murder on the Dance Floor. That was the song with the dance contest. Probably didn't make it that. Probably was not that big in the U.S. because Sophie Ellis Bextor was British, and she was more famous in continental Europe.
Sophie
Nipple.
Nipple Baby.
Yeah.
Good
Oh,
work.
and
You
these-
could get it.
I remember Rich Johnston when he tried to do funny column at CBR, and he came up with the composite character Warren Ellis Baxter. Only the British people understood the joke.
It's tough to do funny. Funny is not easy in comics, even in comics columns.
Most people know dance contest from They Shoot Horses, don't they?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that movie. I've never actually seen anything but clips from it. But yeah, that might, because I think it's from the late 60s. That might be the first dance contest thing in media I ever knew of.
I only know of the one that was on Happy Days.
Ah, that's right. One was on Happy Days.
There was a dance concert on Happy Days, and as I mentioned before, there was one on Godzilla versus. In America, it was Godzilla versus the Sea Monster,
Okay.
and in Japan is Godzilla versus. Forget the name of the sea monster's name, but he's a giant lobster, and the story is a secret organization was kidnapping people from the sea to enslave them to make this item, whatever evil organizations do. And this one guy whose brother disappears, he's like, he needs to get a boat badly. He needs a boat. He heard about this dance contest where the main prize was a boat. By the time he gets to the contest, I think he either loses the contest or it was over. And then he was like moping about the boat, and a friend of his was like, "You want to see boats? I'll show you boats." And they go to like the closest harbor, and it's like, "Here, look at these boats." So the guy sneaks onto the boat, intending to steal it. He ends up getting caught by a guy who says he's the boat owner, but it turns out through this whole course, you're listening to the news report because they're driving around, and you're hearing about a bank robbery or a big robbery that just happened. And what happens? They get to this boat, and it turns out one of the robbers is on the boat. So now they all have to stay on this boat. So the robber won't let them off. They're stuck on the boat. And by morning, the guy who wanted the boat in the first place stole the boat with everybody aboard. So you have the robbers, you have his friends, and you have the boats, and now they're lost at sea.
When do they have time to go to a dance contest?
It happened in between. The robbers didn't go to the dance contest. This guy who wanted his brother went to the dance contest with his friends, while the thief is out stealing the stuff. And they all converge coincidentally on the same boat.
Yeah, this reminds me of those cold openings. You may have wondered how I got into this predicament. Well, it all started with a dance contest.
Oh, and the second and final issue of Elric, the Sleeping Sorceress, even though it's to be continued. I guess the original novel was to be continued. I gotta say, this artist did a terrific job. I really enjoyed this issue, even more than the first, even though it's the same album. What's his name? Secher, Secher, with the accent over the first E.
Valentin Séché.
He did a terrific job with this. I really enjoyed it. Elric taking on monsters and big political things going on, and a Lord of Law showing up, and then a Lord of Chaos and Chaos monsters. And I think it says at the end too, where's that? The collected edition, i.e. album of it, will be out in October. Are those the wrong names down there, or are they?
Blondel, that's
Blondel,
different.
Kano, Seche. Okay, no, those are the two. There's two writers, I think, and one artist. But God, really, they do a good job with this Elric stuff. I don't know which ones I'm missing, but one of these days I'll see what the deluxe editions look like, or not. I always say to myself, "Oh, I wonder if I can get them in the library."
Yeah, I really don't know which Elrics were already published in the U.S. from the French version.
Yeah, it's got, well, let's see.
We've had promises of that thing being published in Portugal a couple of times, and we're still waiting.
We've got Elric, the Ruby Throne, Stormbringer, the White Wolf, the Dreaming City, the Necromancer. And that's it. There's a couple of Hawk Moons too, the Black Jewel and the Battle of Camargue.
Mm.
So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This must be the sixth one. I don't know how many there are. But that's the sixth one. Let me get this notification out of here. My computer keeps giving me a notification that Acrobat won't be able to run on my computer anymore. I don't know why. Adobe Cloud should be updating to the latest version of Acrobat anyway. Crazy computer messages.
Is it possible that you pause the update? Because I've done that before.
I'm going to have to go check.
Yeah, because sometimes I don't like the automatic update.
Right.
Because sometimes when we get it and realize, oh, this is terrible, I need to go back one just and wait until they fix stuff.
And sometimes it pauses itself just because I have Illustrator and Photoshop open all the time on this laptop.
Right.
But I don't think I've had Acrobat open in a little while. So I don't know why that one specifically is giving me that message. But it is. It is giving me that message.
Let me do another book that I...
What do you got?
So I have is G.I. Joe issue number 22.
Ooh.
Dr.
He looks like he's working some magic.
Yeah, he kind of has that 70s Doc Strange when you're not sure he's good or bad, but it's Dr. Mindbender.
Got that claw hand.
Yep. And, you got some octopuses there going on, so it has a nice Cthulhu look to it. And then in the crystal ball, you could see some of the Cobra members.
Classic face-off.
Yep, but I think it's infighting because I think they're all Cobra characters. He may be manipulating what's going on inside. Let's take and I like the color scheme of it because it's all variations of green.
Yep. Monochrome.
So some artwork.
Looks nice.
And this is from Skybound. Another book we have is Gotcha Man, issue number 18. Another monochrome. It's time reds.
A little purple.
Yep, purples and reds, and looks like they're regular colors with like a red alert or something going on.
Yeah. Red Alert is now with BDP, telling you all about Jim Browski. The Jimmy. Sorry, I'm going into some
If you say
old
so.
school rap. Boogie Down Productions. KRS-One.
And another one, we have Thunderhawks, issue number 2. And once I figure out the numbering system with them, because that's my problem I had the last time the books came out.
Zombie
started-
Thunderhawks.
It started in the middle of a story.
Oh,
and I
that's
wasn't
right,
too
because it
sure.
went from series to series.
I believe so. So I have to try to see if I have everything so I can actually read it from the beginning and then try to decipher what's going on. And then, yeah, might as well do the last 2 books. So we have Thundar the Barbarian, issue number 4.
Ooh.
Such a nice cover on that. I think this might have the origin of the Sun Sword, story-wise. And as far as I can recall, there's at least 3 time periods to follow in this,
Huh.
which is when the event happened to destroy the planet, and the possibility of Thundar's origin, that if he never met up with the team, and then if he did, and the wizards are trying to go back in time to gain power from the event and then destroy Sundar in the process. So we have things like that going on. So that's what I'm trying to track down. And last but not least, Superman issue number 38. Comics.
Witchfire brings the heat.
There you go. Reign of the Superboys.
And All In is one of their crossover events, I think, right? Or something.
I think so. I think it's one of those things where actually I don't know what All In is part of. If it's just, everything is if Superman is crossing over, or Superboy story is crossing over to other things. But that's my set of books that I'll be reading a chunk of them tomorrow. And these are like it's 2 weeks worth of books, and only 2 pulled off the shelves. And I know I got a alert from Midtown Comics that 2 of the books that I read, 2 of the books that I'm subscribed to have finished. So I have to. It doesn't affect my book count,
right.
but I do want to look through it just to see what's
see
on
what
there.
You don't want to end up with no comic books.
Exactly.
That's not the plan. Hey, computer, stop all that pausing. I know the exact voice to do that in.
Captain Infinity says Criminal Minded by BDP is one of the greatest hip-hop albums ever, virtually invented gangster rap.
I don't know if I'd call BDP gangster rap, but I can see where it came from, because they rapped about what was on the streets. So.
Like this?
Yeah, because the crack cost money. Oh, yeah. South Bronx, South Bronx, South Bronx, South Bronx.
You got
that was part of the soundtrack to my college years.
You got to shout out your area.
Yeah.
I'm North Bronx. I'm as far north you can get in the Bronx that we're almost Westchester.
Well, my friend Steve, who I learned all my hip hop from, was from the North Bronx. So. An Irish kid from the North Bronx playing hip hop.
We have about a mile up the road is the Irish sector of the Bronx. It's where my sister goes every now and then to get ingredients for Irish soda bread and stuff like that. Because there is an Irish store there that has stuff like that. So, but he's
Back
further
in
north than I am.
86 to 88. And it was funny, I didn't realize, though I had like there was a few rap guys like KRS-One from BDP that I listened to afterwards, and Public Enemy, who I listened to after my college days. I didn't realize till a few years later how much rap from around 86 to 88 was part of my college experience, because I wasn't the one playing it. It was just at every party, and my friends were playing it.
Right.
If that's not gangster, Zorro ain't no
superhero. Yeah, but I think gangster rap is more about bragging about being a gangster.
Yeah. I
don't think he was bragging about being a gangster. He may have been bragging about hanging out with some gangsters, but he was all about the learning and the knowledge. KRS-One, at least. But there was some gangster stuff going on around him. His DJ got shot and killed. Scott LaRock. That was one of those back in the early 80s. There were actual gangsters in the music business, and Scott LaRock was killed because someone else who was the because I only know because he sings about it. Scott LaRock was his DJ in the early days of BDP, Boogie Down Productions, and he was killed because someone else in someone else's music stable got killed, so they killed Scott LaRock, and it's just like crazy to think about. Because this was all local gangster beefs.
Mm-hmm. They bumped one of our crew. We got to go bump their crew.
Right. And there were actual gangsters rapping, too. I just don't think KRS, at least the myth he made for himself, KRS-One, was not about him being a gangster. It was about him going to the library and studying when schools let him down. But he learned the real history hidden in libraries. So that's the only reason I don't. There's certainly gangster stuff going on in their songs.
Right.
Zorro ain't no superhero. Oh, and the latest from our fellow bullpenner, Paul Azaceta and Rick Remender with us, Matthias Lopez. The Seasons, this is issue number 10. And I think this was the best issue. I've been sort of lukewarm on this series, but this issue was really good. And it's hard to describe. It's about these 4 sisters whose parents have been missing for years now, and this sort of evil, crazy, magical carnival who came to town. And it stars mostly, I think, Summer, who's the 13 or 14-year-old sister. And then this one has Winter has kind of taken over the town. It's really hard to describe the plot. It's a fantasy kind of plot. Well, this issue was really nice. I enjoyed this issue. Paul Azaceta did this cover, and it is. I think it's a little different than his art inside. I think his art inside is. I think this is digital, and though he's a talented guy, I'd describe this as sort of the just get it done style of artwork. Meaning that he's not really sweating out trying to make a perfect drawing anywhere. He's just drawing. Which is fine. I mean, he's talented. So good issue. Probably my favorite issue of the series so far, which is always good.
Eric likes the cover.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it looks more painted than it actually is due to the lighting and the drawing, and he did a nice job on that cover.
Mm.
I don't know if you guys saw the video I posted this week on Rogue Sun number 34, was it? 32? I can't remember. But I just did a video looking at the latest issue of Rogue Sun and what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it. And what I didn't like about it was that I would say about 15% of it was confusing storytelling. So I just kind of like felt like making a video about it, and I just kind of went over the confusing parts of the visual storytelling, which is what I always hear people say. I don't like to read comic books because I never know what part to read next. And I'm like, that's because of confusing storytelling. Like I said, 85% of the storytelling was fine, but 15% was a little confusing. So if you want to see a video analyzing the artwork in a comic, check that one out from earlier in the week. Because the crack costs money. Oh, yeah. It's free because the crack costs money. Oh, yeah. That's in my head now.
Mm. In the
One of his I'm a blunt getting smoked and I can't wake up. I'm a blunt getting smoked and I can't wake up. That's one of KRS's solo albums where he's having a dream that he's a blunt getting smoked and he can't wake up. And then he goes down the line of who's smoking him. One of them was Bill Clinton.
Amazing.
We had a lot of white rappers in Europe doing rap as a novelty act.
Ah.
So I don't think that European labels knew how to market hip hop to the European crowd, and they couldn't do that until Will Smith got famous. Also, Milli Vanilli ruined the prospects of dance music as a radio material in the US. In Europe, it kind of ruined the prospect for black music for a while.
Whoops.
So we didn't have hip hop for a while.
And I bought a graphic novel this week. The latest Brubaker and Phillips. Sometimes I wait to get these off of eBay, but I saw it there on the shelf this week. I had an extra, $25 in my pocket. And I said, you know what? I'll just get it at my LCS. I should show you. Do I have that over here? Might do a video on this too. Hold on a second. The first part of this graphic novel was already printed as this special, which that reminds me, I think this was made into a TV show, and I'm like, is the TV show out? Because I haven't heard anyone mention it, and I haven't seen it anywhere. But this is the first story. There's like 3 or 4 related stories. But what was interesting is, look at the difference in printing. Where's that? Let me see if I can find that sunrise picture that blew me away. Where'd it go? Let me see if I can find it here. We'll just pick this one. Like, look at the difference paper makes. Where'd it go? Come on, I lost the page. There we go. Look at the difference paper makes and the colors on these 2 pages. This is an uncoated paper. This is a coated paper.
Wow.
What? Wow.
Yeah, that's
the
like
color,
a night and day difference.
Hits completely differently. And so it was like reading a whole new story. almost because of the way. And there was one page that I was trying to find where there was like a sunrise. Must have been early on. No, where'd it go? And like the color just jumped off the page at me. Like it's not like it didn't do. Oh, and even this violet. Where is that? There we go. Look at the difference in these violets. That's like a completely different comic.
Yeah, I would almost say it's like, oh, is that a new reprint with new coloring altogether?
No, same exact coloring,
yeah.
different printing. Isn't that that's what the difference in page and paper choice makes. But terrific graphic novel, just like every one of Brubaker and Phillips. This one is about our main character is Teague Lawless. He's the son of Ricky Lawless. Ricky Lawless is another one of the characters in the Criminal series, who I think his stuff mostly takes place in the 70s and 80s, and he's like a small-time criminal. And his son Teague, who's about 25 in this, so I think it takes place in the 21st century. But I think he described Teague Lawless in this as like, I wanted to do more Teague. Teague is sort of, and he's a guy everybody likes, but he's a screw up as a criminal. So he's always just getting into mess after mess, which he's doing in this. He's just getting into mess after mess, trying to figure out. Started filming in June. Okay, so there's not a release date yet. Thanks for that info, because I wasn't sure.
That's taking a while to film for a TV series.
He mentioned it in the back, so some of it is. What's the afterword? Gus Halper, I don't know who that is. The actor playing Ricky Lawless recorded some voiceover I've written for him. So, this is Ricky Lawless in this one. So that's whose voice he was hearing as this was going on. Like there's one point Ricky Lawless gets himself through a series of events, the difference is striking.
Yeah, and Jose Villarrubia has been complaining a lot about reprints of Marvel Silver and Bronze Age, and noting how saturated the colors are in modern reprints, and I guess that kind of happens with the collected edition as well over there.
Right, like, but this isn't even collected edition. This is just a graphic novel because this was only one part of it. Like they printed like 1/5 of it. I think they did this as a special, and then he's like, I want to continue the story. So, but like at one point, Ricky Lawless is such a screw up. He screwed up this one job. So then he owed this other gangster. This other gangster was going to kill him, quite frankly, because he screwed up so badly. And then Ricky Lawless was like, listen, I can't pay. Who do you want me to kill? He's like, I'll kill anyone for you to even this up. Just name somebody and I'll kill him. So this gangster named somebody for Ricky Lawless to kill. So Ricky Lawless is like, all right, I'm going to go. So Ricky Lawless goes out to kill this guy. And then he realizes this guy is like the second in command of this other big gangster. And his specialty is killing people. So Ricky's like, I don't think I could kill this guy. So then he makes a deal with the guy to like kill the guy who wants Ricky to kill him. And it's just like, he just gets out of these binds in crazy ways that make no sense, but somehow like it because he's charming and people like. But I mean, people just kind of like him. So I'm not even going to say he's charming. So it's an interesting story, really good graphic novel, and I think I liked the saturated colors best in this. I think they hit me harder. I had no when I first read this, I was like, oh, they're muting all the colors. Okay. You know, it's a pulp book. They're muting the colors. I get it. It's a choice. But when I saw the colors saturated, I think I liked it better. Because like it takes place in Vegas, and the neon of Vegas really came through.
Captain Infinity says Marcia Lucas is dead.
Who's Marcia Lucas?
George Lucas's wife.
Oh, okay.
Oh well. Doesn't matter. It's all Disney's anyway.
But I might put together a video showing the difference in the printing between those two, just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
Why not? It's not often you get to show off that stark a contrast.
Unless you want to go for
a publisher. It's wild.
Right.
And it's modern, so it's not like you're reprinting golden Silver Age stuff now.
Yeah, that's the problem with like contrasting something Silver Age is usually yellowed and brown, and that's how people like now remember it. That's why whenever I see like an old comic that's yellowed, I'm like, no, I remember when I bought that comic, it was white.
Yeah,
or at least as white as newsprint gets. It didn't have a yellow tint to it.
Pages were white, the book laid with a little bit of a bend, this nice little open in the center.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was the film editor of Star Wars, Taxi Driver, and American Graffiti.
Ah, okay.
So she did work in industry. She pointed out Vader isn't Luke's father because it's a retcon.
Oh, I knew he didn't have a plan. Even then,
that was obvious. That was obvious.
All these filmmakers who say they have a plan that's not how filmmaking works.
And you can't even claim, it's going to be 3 movies. You have no idea if it's going to be 3 movies.
Yeah. You hoped it would be 3 movies.
Yeah, before that, did anyone do 3 movies?
No. Planet of the Apes. Before that, I remember Star Wars was like the first one. What usually happened, and you can see it in Planet of the Apes, and this was the general conventional thinking of sequels, is Planet of the Apes you make, it's a hit, then the sequel you give half the money to. So the sequel has to be made for half the money of the first one because they had no faith in sequels, which is why Planet of the Apes, the second one, looks, they had to scale it down.
Mm-hmm. And then the third one has nothing to do with the previous 2.
But Star Wars was one of the ones where all of a sudden that thinking wasn't around anymore. So like they didn't have to make Empire for half the money of Star Wars.
Right. and when they did the Dirty Harry movies, each movie was independent. It's not like they were thinking.
They didn't cost much money to make anyway.
Yeah. Although with Shaft, it was quite clear the second movie was made on a tight budget.
Mm-hmm.
There was no sequel to Hidden Fortress, so he had no idea what to rip off next.
James Bond was another one that each movie was kind of independent. There was
none of that was made thinking, okay, you have to watch the next one to find out the whole story.
And they were cheap to make.
Yeah. It's obvious. But it was.
Are you being mean, Paolo?
I am being mean. No, but it kind of was. We know there. We can tell when there is no plan because we have tendency to remember this type of stuff. If we're that type of audience, I'm not sure when there's retcons in soap operas if the soap opera people remember.
I just knew there was no plan for Star Wars because he set up a love triangle between Han Solo, Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia, and Princess Leia was the brother
The sister, yeah,
of
because
Luke Skywalker. That's how you knew there was no plan.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I mean you're right that
Well,
most of the people, to us cynical 12-year-olds,
yeah, but we all joked about it. It was
Paolo's
we
not an original Star Wars person anyway, so you know he wasn't around for the
I
first
was
run of Star Wars. So
I was
he's of the
around. No.
generation that came after the movies were
I
out.
remember when Empire came out. I was alive when Empire came out.
Okay.
I was 5, but because they showed Star Wars on TV when Empire debuted in the movies, and then with Jedi they showed the other 2 movies on TV. But of course, I was a Star Trek guy.
Fans definitely wanted to believe there was a plan. Fans wanted to believe there was a plan. You know, when the 6th movie came out in the 90s, they still really wanted to believe that George Lucas had some visionary plan, even though, you know, by the 6th movie, it was kind of obvious he didn't, but they like it.
What?
Here's to me, this is what makes Star Wars different than lots of other movies. To me, I think Star Wars was the primary or first religious experience for a lot of kids because there's so many religious undertones to Star Wars. The Force, you got to believe in it. You got to there's tons of religious undertones. And to kids who really weren't brought up with a ton of religion, I think that hit hard. That's what made people want to believe in Star Wars because of sort of the religious itch it scratched, which is something I don't really hear people talk about besides me every now and then. But
Star Wars only 7 or 8 years after the first, was it?
77. When was the first Planet of the Apes? 68 or 69?
Mm-hmm. Probably, yeah. Because the last 3 Planet of the Apes were all shot on top of the other.
Each one getting a lower and lower budget.
Yeah, when 4th film came out, that should have been well, exactly. But the thing is, when Lucas came up with the idea for Star Wars, he was in his 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a young filmmaker, wanted to do something big, and he was going to do something big with special effects the way it had never been done before. And by the time
he wanted to do Flash Gordon, and they told him no. I'll make my own Flash Gordon with hookers and blackjack.
Yeah, and by the time they get to the prequels, he's an old guy who doesn't know what makes kids interested.
And I imagine he couldn't help but feel a little trapped by Star Wars, by sort of the size of it, by sort of the belief people had in it. It's like, you know, that's got to creep into your mind. And like, that's why it took him so long to do it.
I mixed up Pizza Hut with Jabba the Hutt. You know what? You know what happens when I try to find the difference between Star Wars and Spaceballs? I ain't found shit. 15-year-old sci-fi fan, Star Wars was all about the visuals. Yeah.
See, to give you an idea of how jaded 10-year-old Jared was, I didn't see Star Wars for years because it was too popular for me to be interested in.
Yes,
if everybody likes it, I'm not.
If everybody likes it, I don't care. There must be something wrong with it. I did read the novel, though. I didn't watch the movie, but I read the novel. That's how much of a contrarian 10, 12-year-old Jared.
I see. So you were a fan of The Cure, right? You were listening to.
Yeah. I was more of a Logan's Run kid, you know?
Yeah.
A hipster at 10, yeah.
Runner.
Yeah, I saw Logan's run a lot in
The
the 90s.
suburban hipster.
I saw Logan's run a lot in the 90s on TCM, and because that thing kept getting rerun. That thing had
movie
religious
gets interesting the older you get.
That thing,
especially when you hit 30, and it's like, this go to blink.
Yeah. But that thing had religious undertones as well, but they were not positive.
Oh, I did read the comic book adaptation too. So I read the novel, I read the comic book adaptation, but didn't see the movie.
I have zero interest in Star Wars comics, whether they adapt the movies or not.
Oh, I actually liked the Star Wars
I
comic. I thought
enjoyed
it
the
was
Star
good.
Wars comics. I enjoyed them. I thought they were fun. But again, I was 13, so to me it's like this is peak. This is, since the movies aren't running at the moment, this is peak entertainment.
I'm talking specifically the adaptation of the first movie is what I liked. You couldn't get me to read a Carmen Infantino Star Wars comic. No,
I read it. I enjoyed it. For me, it was fun. I even read the Indiana Jones books, and I enjoyed them as well.
Which is getting an omnibus.
I saw.
And Tashin's doing the Marvel Star Wars, so it's going to be installed as a bar stool as well.
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, Return of the Jedi was the first Star Wars I saw in the theater. And I only saw it because my friend Rob was like, hey, let's go see Return of the Jedi. I was like,
I think that's the only one I saw in the theaters, because I knew of Star Wars. I don't think I saw Empire Strikes Back in the theater. I would have seen it on HBO, I think. But I remember seeing Return of the Jedi.
When did Star Wars first play on TV? Not till like 4 years later or something.
Probably,
something like that, yeah.
I think when it finally played on TV, like when Empire came out.
Yeah.
So that's when I first saw Star Wars on TV. 4 years later.
Yep. Commercials and everything.
And you still find a lot of you still find a lot of elements that are borrowed from 2001, especially when it comes to portraying technology, because Lucas was still trying to pass it off as science fiction.
Oh, it was a space western, that's for sure. Lots of western stuff in it.
Yeah, because then it turns into a fairy tale with Empire.
Use the Force, Luke. Use the Force.
So, Cloud City is a lot brighter than Tatooine or even the Death Star. The Death Star from the inside. From the inside, it's big, but it's kind of cramped for everybody inside, except for except for all the walkways with no railing.
Not OSHA compliant, that's for sure. And Star Wars, there was so many rumors about everything, that whole world, that you couldn't really, because we didn't know anything. And what was the Clone Wars? A throwaway line where so many people, like what I thought was the Clone Wars was not what we got in the movies.
Right. Mm-hmm. He purposely tried to make it like you were jumping into the middle of something, that there was a whole history to it. So let me quickly run through my last 4 comics.
We got Death
Star.
I still have the MP3 for that somewhere around here.
Yeah.
My last 4 comics I got this week, All Good, Is Ted Okay? David Chisholm, who I've never heard of before this, but I'm enjoying it. It's weird. I think aliens just showed up. All of a sudden, the main story is about this guy and this woman whose job it is. She works for a giant corporation sometime in the future, and her job is to keep an eye on employees to make sure they're not homicidal or suicidal. And Ted was a little of both, I think. And he's finding out weird things about himself. He may be a space alien of some kind. He doesn't know, but that's been a fun story. Feral, the horror story about cats. They're trapped with humans in a lab right now. This is the one that's like a zombie story with cats. They're trapped in a lab right now. They've been out on their own most of the time. Now they're in that lab, and good. And it's a flip book with stray dogs who are also trapped in the lab. Then we got Swamp. This was good. Swamp Thing 89. They're continue this new art, but the story is from 1988 when Rick Veitch had Swamp Thing meet Jesus, and DC said no, so he quit the series. So there's going to be 4 issues of this, newly drawn by Tom Mandrake. Good issue. In this, he's trapped going back. Only the last issue, 88, had Jesus in it. Now he continues going back in time and trying to figure out what's going on. John Constantine's in this issue, along with the Shining Knight as he goes backward, and Anthro as he goes back in time. And finally, we get another issue, 62 of Monstrous, Marjorie Liu and Santa Takeda, and always good. I mean, I've been enjoying Monstrous for 62 issues. High fantasy war. There's the cats that live there. These cat people who are kind of powerful sorcerers. Good stuff. All good comics this week, except for Club Nephilim. But and I'll quickly run through this too, just to show you. I bought some Star Slayers just because, and I think 7 issues shipped and taxed, $12. Some nice Tim Truman covers. This one I already have, Tim Truman art, We Meet Scrimjack. And I think I bought these purely out of nostalgia. They were like, because I think Mike Grell created Star Slayer, but I don't think it was creator owned. Pacific Comics may have owned it. And then they went out of business. And First Comic, either way, Mike Grell was off it fairly quickly.
I don't think he was interested in doing more.
Yeah.
Although First exhibited some degree of ownership, and they kind of decided who could work on stuff, because Tim Truman also leaves
Grimjack, right?
Grimjack after a while.
But I think he was only on like 4 or 6 issues, which is why I stopped buying it. But for some reason, what did they call them? High grade Star Slayers. I was like, they sound pretty. It was only like shipped and taxed. It was $12. I was like, all right. And I actually want to go back and read them. And I'm missing, like I was missing issue 7 and 2 other issues, which I just put in this year's order to Lone Star Comics, mycomicshop.com, where I put in, they're only like $3 a piece. Not high grade issues though. At Lone Star, where I filled in like 3 issues I was missing for that like 1 to 19 run. So now I can go back and read 1 to 19 once those get in. But it was like, I swear it was pure nostalgia for a book that wasn't even a favorite back in the 80s. But there's an example of, even if you wait 40 years, those comics will probably not going to be valuable. Because this was when did this come out? 1980, I don't know what. 83. I see it. There's the signature says 1983. In 1983, this comic was $1.
And that was expensive.
Yeah. And in what is this, 2026, I paid less than $2 for it. So it didn't even keep up with the rate of inflation.
What's going to happen is it's going to be like when you're a fan of old soul, old R&B and soul, and you have to look for other fans of R&B and soul to exchange knowledge of stuff that came out back then. So we're going to have to find other people who are into 80s comics and explain to them what Star Slayer was.
I didn't even take the tape off the bags yet. When someone uses Scotch tape on a bag, I immediately take it off and throw it away.
Yep.
No tape pulls for me. Use painter's tape. Anything that
Same
won't make
thing.
the tape pull. I want to see who
Yep.
did this. Just because I like this cover a lot. I don't know. There's just something about them running. I just think they captured a nice running because it's tough to draw running.
Mm.
And I think they did a nice job with that cover. And let me see. I can't quite make out the signature. Gustovich inked it. DELSO, Del Sol. So I'm going to look for credits here, see if I can. Who's the penciler? Yeah. Lenin Del Sol. LENINDELSOL. And I don't think the insides are quite as good as the cover. But I like that cover a lot.
Yeah, but that guy's a fill-in, right?
I don't know. He's definitely a post Mike Grell guy.
Sure. What issue is that?
This is issue 11.
Star Slayer 11. Okay. Lenin Del Sol and Mike Gustovich.
He did the cover on 12. He's also not. Then we get a Tim Truman cover on 14. Who did the inside?
Lenin Del Sol was the artist on Warp.
On Warp?
Yeah, he did do he was the first artist on Star Slayer after Grell quit.
Uh-huh. So he must have. I remember getting a bunch of Warp, but I haven't looked at it in so many years. Oh, this looks like Tim Truman.
Even the last issues that were written by Grell were already penciled by Del Sol. So
Tim Truman must have taken over for a few issues.
Yeah,
on
so
the
let me
ones with
check.
his covers. So I think Grimjack started in the back.
Yes, it did, and then there was the crossover was a pilot to launch Grimjack #1.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Creepy Reader says Brunner on Warp. Yes, that's who I remember on Warp.
Mhm.
Probably Del Sol disappointed me on Warp too after he took over.
Okay, so the last
Right,
Del
Brunner.
Sol on Star Slayer is number 13, and 14 is Truman.
Truman. I look forward to reading some Tim Truman I haven't read before.
15 is Truman, 16 is Truman, 17 is Truman. Yeah. So Truman does take over.
Tape Goblin. Here he goes with the tape again. Yeah, I'm always going with the tape.
The tape has no
no
soul. Yeah. Frank Brunner was the one who came up with Warp because that thing was a theater play. But he was not drawing the comic.
He may have done some covers on the comic.
Mhm.
I remember him being associated with it, but I haven't looked. I think I still have my issues of Warp, but I haven't looked at it in so long.
Right. Brunner drew the covers. Ostrander did the adaptation to comic. Yeah, but Warp was the theater play. Brunner had the idea, but he didn't work on most comics. He did issue #1, and then issue #2 was over in issue #2, and issue #3, and 4 is still Brunner. 5, 6, Wednesdays 7, 8, 9.
Sleepy says Neil Adams designed Warp and Brunner drew early issues.
Yes, and issue #11 is the first one that has no Brunner. It's Jerry Bingham. Oh wait, no, Del Sol was drawing the backup feature. That's it. It starts a new backup feature in #11 called Outrider.
I just remember Warp was one of those books I wanted to be good, but it just wasn't that good. That's why I never went back and reread it, I think. Let's see. I want to see if they're still in my collection database here. Comic catalog. Where is Warp? For some reason, I have Warp graphic. Oh, that no. I think I got rid of all. I got rid of my issues of Warp. I don't have them anymore. That's why I've never reread it. I must have decided at some time that I'm never rereading this, and moved them on. I don't think that one's ever been reprinted or collected. Shouldn't it be worth a lot of money then? Reprinted. Microwave my comic. Do you think paper would set on fire in a microwave if you put it in long enough?
I don't know. It is possible. Because the way a microwave works is not much, there's no liquid in paper.
Right, it's just vibrating.
So it's just vibrating. Would the paper get hot enough? Maybe not on fire, but it could possibly burn.
It could.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good question. So probably shouldn't do it for more than a minute.
Solid advice.
Yes.
Do it 10 seconds at a time. Wait until it gets, see how long it takes to get soft. Sleepy says, I think Warp Graphics was ElfQuest. Yes. Which confused me at the time. Wendy and Richard Pinney Warp Graphics stands for. That's the only Warp I had in my database. My comic book database. What are you reading, Paolo? I see they're fascinated by something.
No, I need to pick up again. I was thinking about going through Earth X again.
That was a good comic.
Yeah.
Very clever too. I liked its had a lot of interesting ideas in it about the Marvel universe.
Yeah. That was the diluted version of what the Marvel universe was supposed to be. All presented in a single comic book story.
Yep. Was that Jean-Paul Leon?
Jean-Paul Leon still drew the first one because Universe X was already was drawn by Doug Braithwaite.
Okay.
And then Paradise
Jean-Paul
X
Leon died too, didn't he?
Yeah, a few years ago.
Yeah. He I remember Walter Simonson saying that because Walter used to teach at the School of Visual Arts. I don't know, early 2000s. And Jean-Paul Leon was a student. But it's like he was Joe Pro. He like had a Marvel assignment. He was like, "Can I just use my Marvel assignment for class?" And Walter was like, "Yeah, of course." That's one of the Art School Confidential characters. If you remember Art School Confidential, Daniel Clowes with the comic strip that blows the lid off the biggest scam in American history, Art School. And one of his characters, he went through in one panel to show you the different sort of stereotype characters. And one of them was Joe Pro. He's like, I couldn't do the assignment because I had to spend the weekend doing spot illustrations for a magazine. It's like, yep, you're already working. I had one of my students this semester. She couldn't come to class at the end because she got a job. I was like, all right.
Yeah, yep, it's a good excuse. You know.
All right. I'm going to sit here and take more tape off of these comics. Because I don't like this tape. Boo. Boo tape. Boo Scotch tape.
Tape has got no soul. Tape. And
You
tape has
can't-
got
You can't get a tape pull without Scotch tape.
tape has no honor.
That painter's tape, that purple painter's tape I use ain't gonna give me a tape pull. And it's only like comic shops and people who are never gonna open their comics again that use 2 pieces of tape
Mm.
on their book, because they do it because that keeps the flap down a lot better than 1 piece of tape. Like when you only have 1 piece of tape in the middle, sometimes the flap folds up, sometimes it catches. But that also means you ain't opening this book again.
That Goblin series about us watching that drawing documentary.
What was the name of it again? I'm going to write it down.
I'm going to do the same thing. I probably won't watch it, but I'm going to at least write it down.
Oh, there's 0 chance I watch it if I don't write it down.
Yeah.
Let me go up. Man, how long ago was that? Ah, here it is. Mark Kistler's Secret City on Tubi. Tubi is not available outside North America, so I can't watch it.
You may find it other places. Secret City.
I have my ways.
I don't have a VPN. I should take care of it one of these
Don't have a
days.
VPN. That's
Yeah.
just crazy talk.
Yeah, what only normies don't have VPNs.
My Usenet provider is my VPN provider.
Eric says his shop uses the bags with the tape already on the bag.
I do not like those. I find them too clumsy.
I personally do like the self-sealing bags.
I just find them. I got to do too much pulling up on the bag to get it open. There we go. That's all of them. At least you won't get tape pulls from it.
Mhm. So while Jared continues his war on tape,
Dun dun dun.
we will sign off.
All righty.
Next week, we're going to on Jared's channel, so do bookmark it. I finally started putting both of your channels in the video description.
Oh,
So thank you.
Because I never remember. I always, oh man, I gotta
I do that
in.
sometimes. But I'm going to have to put it in a note and copy so I can just copy and paste it.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
And I haven't done a live in so long, I don't even remember how to do it.
With that
With
war.
that war.
All right.
Have a great
Everybody have a
weekend,
good one out
everybody.
there.
Take
Catch
care.
you
Bye-bye.
next week.